Welcome to the Fast Mode Studios. I'm Ariana Lin, Principal Analyst at the Fast Mode, and with me today I have Robin Major, Chief Revenue Officer at Moflix Group, a leading digital telco as a service provider based in Finland. Moflix is set to attend and exhibit at TM Forum's upcoming DTW23 Ignite, where the company is planning to not only showcase its innovative and disruptive TelcoTech platform, but also participate in an exciting panel discussion under the event's Cloud Native Software track. Good morning, Robin.
Good morning, Ariana. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, thank you. Nice to be here with you.
Great. Okay, so first off, congratulations on being shortlisted as a finalist for TM Forum's 16th Excellence Awards 2023 alongside Nice Mobile under the Excellence in Customer Experience category. How do you feel about this? Regarding the case study, how has your TelcoTech platform enhanced digital customer experiences and delivered multiple industry firsts for Nice Mobile?
Well, it's really exciting, right? I think, for a relatively young player in the telco market like us to be even finalised for this kind of recognition is super wild, and we're very happy about it. I think just before we carry on, though, I think we have to give recognition to our partner in this endeavour, which is, as you say, Nice Mobile and their parent company, Ice Mobile in Norway. They had the vision 2 years ago to want to disrupt the way that the Norwegian telecommunications market functions and the mechanics of people moving between providers. And, it was their idea to create a fresh new digital brand that was going to attract the right people to them as a provider. They, obviously chose to work with us in delivering that based on what we'd done in other customers elsewhere in Europe, and so that endeavour has been really exciting to be able to partner with them on that. They've had fresh thinking on this from day one. So some of the firsts they were the first telco brand, certainly in Norway, if not Europe, maybe the world. We don't fully know. To launch entirely with eSIM only at launch. So if you wanted to be a Nice Mobile customer, the only way you could get on board was with an eSIM, and that's obviously great if you're looking to acquire customers quickly and disruptively. They can sign up in the comfort of their own home in 3 minutes or less, without needing to wait for physical plastic to be shipped. So that's one awesome win for everybody. Then they've really taken a fairly radical approach to simplifying the whole telco operating model as well. I'm sure we'll talk about that more in a little bit, but they've simplified their pricing. They've made it really easy for people to pay with credit cards and debit cards. They then added in sort of other digital payment methods which are used in other sort of verticals and other services in Norway, but were not particularly common in the telco world. So they have a big partnership now with Vipps, which is used by 80% of people in Norway to pay for things, and now you can pay for your mobile subscription with Nice Mobile using Vipps as well. There came a point where they decided they had to do some plastic SIMs, because I think the number of people with eSIM compatible devices was not universal enough yet, so they launched a plastic SIM proposition. But doing that with a young disruptive logistics provider called Helthjem, which means that they can ship SIMs by 7 o'clock the next morning if you order before 9 p.m. on the day. So really trying to make it really easy and streamlined for people to access the service, to onboard the service, to control every aspect of the service in an app. And they're continuing to innovate and develop. I mean, this service was launched in less than a quarter from the day that we started the project until going live in the market. That's quite disruptive in its own right.
Brilliant. We also hear that you will be participating in a panel session on the third day of the event on the topic of the bridge between telco and techco, disrupting operators' core DNA. Can you tell us more about this session?
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's fantastic, again, that we've been given an opportunity by the TM Forum to talk about the things that are close to our hearts. And we'll be participating with Nice Mobile in that session as well, along with another new Moflix customer, which I can give you a small exclusive on now because it's going to be announced just before the show. A company called Moflix Mobile, which will be launching an MVNO in the USA. in the near future. Really, the whole point of this panel is to dig further into why more people in the telco industry haven't really fully embraced or fully executed on this idea of an all digital way of doing business with people. We're so used to it from other industries, and especially in financial services and fintech, in content like Netflix, in kind of rides and delivery like Uber. We're so used to being able to run our entire relationship with a service provider through an app. Just download it, onboard, use the service. Nice and easy. Nobody has any problems. Nobody has to call a call center. Nobody has to go to a retail store. And so this whole idea is something that's starting to take hold in the industry. We see a lot talked about in even at digital transformation world. A lot of the focus is on the journey from being a telco to being a techco, and we would argue that's probably the pendulum swinging slightly too far the other way. Telco is still a really valuable commodity. It's a very expensive commodity to produce in terms of the investments that are made in building and maintaining and enhancing networks. And that sort of carefully engineered commodity is something that people still value. Otherwise, there wouldn't be multiple $1 trillion market in telecommunications service. So we don't want to dismiss telco as an important part of the 21st century way of doing business. Without telco networks, most of these digital service providers wouldn't exist. But what we're trying to encourage the whole industry to do is think more about the difference between that slow-moving telco world and the fast-moving tech world in which it's possible to acquire customers, acquire a way of communicating with them, acquire a validated identification for them, acquire a payment method for them, and then sell them things. The fact that we're selling them telco services in the first instance is a function of who we are as an industry, but it's almost incidental, right? And so if we sort of step back into what the panel's about, we've got Shiraz Abid, who's the CEO, the Chief Commercial Officer of ICE, the parent company of Nice Mobile, who was the guy that started Nice Mobile. He's a telco guy. He's been around the industry for a good few years, and he had the vision to want to start a telco that was going to use tech roots as a kind of way of building that business and expanding out from there. On the other hand, we'll have Stefan Riedel, who's the CEO of Flix Mobile. They're starting a tech business which is focused on Web3 and digital identity, and they're using telco as the platform for trying to achieve scale with that kind of business. For them, the telco piece just has to work, and the rest of it is all about the tech. And I think we've seen a lot of the platforms that are used in telco kind of date back to the early 90s in terms of their structure, their thinking, their processes, the way that they see the business, the operating model that they're catering for. They date back to the early days of when we were launching GSM networks in the 90s and selling those at scale. Not a lot has really changed. And I think the complexity that they were designed for has gradually gone away. The types of services that people want to consume today are much more simple. I think the pricing models they expect are much more simple. Dare we say, there's a lot of markets in which telco is a kind of all-you-can-eat commodity, valuable, but nevertheless much simpler than it was in the 90s. And so the telco tech world really is looking at how can we make that telco part as simple and streamlined as possible as a vehicle for acquiring customers with a really solid digital connectivity proposition, but then moving on from there and finding other really exciting, fun ways to engage people, to find ways of building communities within your customer base, to find ways of gamifying the relationships to make it more engaging to be part of this digital service provider, and dare I say even sort of moving in the direction of fintech and offering financial incentives and financial services that traditionally have been wholly the domain of the financial services companies. So it's quite an interesting landscape to be moving in telco at the moment, where we've come from a really strong heritage of well-engineered network connectivity. We're moving into this sort of bold new world of telco, and it's about getting both sides of that right, whilst also changing a little bit the way that we kind of got used to thinking in the telco industry to allow ourselves that freedom to innovate and disrupt again.
Okay, so zooming in into the concept of TelcoTech, I think you just touched upon this. How does TelcoTech enable companies to simultaneously operate as telcos and techcos? And how does this unique position lead to new revenue streams and higher customer engagement?
Great, that's a great question. Thanks. I probably did inadvertently touch on some of those points just now. Yeah, just to recap, I mean the complexity of the telco environment, especially in the early days, is well known, and for us, the telco piece is something that has a lot of opportunity for streamlining, for making much more simple, both for the operator and for the customer. If we can leverage the digital channel to provide 100% of the telco experience in an app, which a customer can discover, can download, onboard themselves, serve themselves, and really save the very few interactions where a customer gets completely stuck for either an AI bot or a chat interaction with a customer service agent. Then you're able to talk about reducing the cost of customer operations by in the region of 80+%, and that's a fairly substantial saving for a telco operator. But also, it gives people the thing they expect from any modern service provider, which is a kind of, I just serve myself, I just get on with my life, and I don't have to plan half of my day to go to a shop, or half of my lunch break to sit on the phone and talk to a call center. So that telco piece just has to work in a much better way. I think we've seen a lot of investment in that sort of app ecosystem and technology in telco in the last decade. We would argue that by and large, most people have succeeded in implementing really the old telco way of doing things in an app. So you normally can't onboard in the app. You normally get to look at your bills, which may or may not be up to date. You can probably buy an add-on if you're a prepaid customer, and you might be able to raise a trouble ticket with the customer support function. But it's not really delivering the sort of digital service that people want to engage with, where they see value in having the 1 square centimeter of real estate on their phone consumed by an app that belongs to a telco. And we interact with apps on a daily basis in all sorts of different walks of our lives. Very few of us interact with our telco's apps. So for us, it's about changing the game in the telco space to reduce the whole cost of serve, increase customers' desire to download the app and use it, and then leverage that as a platform for doing other interesting things with the customers. And a key part of this is making sure that every single customer who uses a TelcoTech service has the app on their phone. Traditionally, we have a bit of a trust problem in the telco world, and especially when we talk about the apps that we've just described being not particularly exciting or engaging. If you've got a 40% of your user base using one of your apps on an occasional basis in telco, you're doing well. But really, to drive the sort of trust and the engagement that comes from the trust, you need everybody having the app on their phone. You need to be able to understand things about how they're using that app and how they're using the service, and then be able to target them in a highly personalized way to make them feel that you understand them and make you a part of their lives in a way that they believe that you're doing what you say you do when you say you're going to do it, and then they're more likely to want to believe you when you want to give them other messages like I want to sell you something. So that telco piece is absolutely vital. The tech piece then is moving beyond the connectivity story into having acquired a trusted customer base. How can I leverage that to sell them other things? So bringing in a marketplace where you can onboard any number of third parties, and it might in the first instance just be a carefully curated small set of other services that might be directly adjacent to your telco offering. So it might be handset insurance, it might be other connectivity offerings like content or fixed line services instead of mobile. It might be things like energy or utilities. But it could be, it could be mobility services, it could be magazine subscriptions, it could be anything that you can imagine really that might be relevant for the cohort that you're wanting to target with those propositions. And it's about giving telcos that sort of runway to expand outside of the core connectivity proposition and learn through individual market feedback how they can monetize relationships differently. And as I said earlier, that goes all the way into financial services and kind of clawing back some land, some territory from the financial services companies who've done a really good job of engaging people with simple propositions that they've then expanded in all sorts of different directions.
Absolutely, that does seem very exciting. On the topic of a telco app, can you elaborate on your concept of a trusted super app environment and how it serves as a gateway to Web 3.0 and beyond?
Yeah, so I think we touched on the trust challenge we kind of have in telco, and I think rebuilding that trust and helping people really buy into the fact that your app is valuable and that they can do interesting and exciting things with it on a daily basis, that there are reasons to open it and look at things and engage with it, is the sort of the first building block in that journey. But the idea of a super app is not new. It's just a bit new to the telco industry. We've seen people like the ride sharing company Grab in Asia doing a great job of expanding from being able to hail a taxi to ordering food to moving into all sorts of other non-core services that really caught the imagination of their core audience in Asia. We've seen Uber moving from offering taxis in Europe and the US into Uber Eats and delivering food, or courier services, or moving into enterprise services for people who have small businesses as well. We've seen people like Revolut in the UK, who are financial services operations, starting their relationship with a customer with a payment card that is very friendly on the foreign exchange front, but then you can get a travel insurance service from them, you can get crypto trading services from them, you can get stock trading services from them, you can get all sorts of interesting things. They offer discounts on retail stores now. You can book hotels and stays through Revolut, so you can get travel packages through them as well. And it's this idea of a super app being an extra set of value that goes beyond the core proposition that you initially engage a customer with, that enables them to see you as a trusted partner for many different facets of their digital life, and as either as a service partner in your own right, or as a conduit to other third parties who they may wish to buy things from or wish to engage with. And so that super app environment we see is becoming a really important part of the future of telco. We've got a great connectivity proposition. Let's sell it to people in a really easy way to understand. Let's give them the tools to onboard in a really easy way that they kind of get excited by, that just how simple it is. Let's deal with them on a basis that really makes us trust us, and then let's go from there. Let's see where we can take it with our app, with a telco app, as the cockpit for many different things. Now, the Web3 angle of this is taking this to another level. Web3 is going to be a really important step change in the way that the internet and the world of the World Wide Web is perceived and interacted with by people. Many people confuse it with the metaverse. I think that's not necessarily the case. There are a lot of underlying technologies involved in Web3 which will have a fairly impactful effect on people's lives that go far beyond strapping on a headset and moving around in a virtual 3D world. And the biggest of those, we think, is being able to use digital IDs in a way that has not been possible before the advent of blockchain technology. So what we're seeing is a sort of a much stronger trend towards control of individuals' identity credentials from the individual, so that when someone wants to understand online or in the real world whether I fit the criteria for using their service, whether that be a government agency, whether that be a service provider that provides services to that are age restricted or location restricted, rather than giving my full birth certificate or handing over my utility bills and my address and everything else that I would normally have to do to sort of prove I am who I say I am. In the Web3 world, using smart contracts, we can allow people to share only the information that's necessary for that interaction. So I could ask the question, is Ariana over 21? And the answer would just be yes. You don't have to know my date of birth for that interaction to happen. It would just be something that I could share with you. And as telcos have access to so many millions of users around the world, and they provide that valuable commodity to people, which is their internet access, whether it be fixed or mobile, then during the onboarding process, providing a Web3 wallet to every user and furnishing that with a digital ID that's based on the KYC processes that we have to undertake in most markets, just seems like a logical step to be able to put the telco into the mix on the journey to Web3 and to become an integral part of the mechanics of people interacting with Web3 and other service providers interacting with users. So effectively, the telco app then also becomes a kind of a cockpit for queries and kind of authentication of verified credentials in everyday life as well as in the telco context. So we think it's a pretty exciting step, which one builds upon the other, and as we'll see with FLIGS in the US, that's going to be a very interesting inflection point in the market for telco services moving into the tech world.
That's very insightful. On to our last question. The core of Moflix's platform is built on Amazon Web Services, making it entirely cloud-based. What are some of the advantages of this?
Yeah, great question. We actually don't talk an awful lot about being cloud native in Moflix. It seems that's a phrase that's got a lot of attention in the telco industry in the last couple of years, and a bandwagon that everyone seems to be jumping on. But we are, as you say, completely cloud native, as well as offering a disruptive view on what it means to be a telco and a techco. And so our TelcoTech platform is built entirely on AWS, and that means a couple of things. First of all, it means we're hosted in the AWS data centers, which means we don't have to build data centers, or telcos don't have to worry about installing our solutions in their data centers. But when you're partnering with someone like AWS, it goes well beyond that in terms of the value that working with a cloud hyperscaler like them really offers. The entire guts of our solution is architected not just on AWS hosting, but on AWS services. They've invested billions of dollars in all sorts of different layers in the architecture, like security layers, database layers, business logic flowing layers, workflow layers, API layers. You name it, they've got it in their toolkit. And as far as possible, we've just leveraged that to build our solutions, which means, we were able to do it a lot quicker than if we'd had to go back to the drawing board and build everything from scratch ourselves. And B, it means we get to piggyback on that R&D investment that they've made and continue to make in lots of areas. We even leverage one of their services for outbound communications and campaign management, which would normally involve going and buying a whole new platform from someone like Adobe. We kind of get it as part of the mix with AWS, and that's a great value add for us and our customers. There's a couple of other angles that are interesting as well. I mean, the fact that we're leveraging shared data centers, that we're not having to invest in new infrastructure to roll out a Moflix solution means that from a sustainability point of view, it's a much lower impact in terms of where our solutions play in the market and how scalable they can be without having to create disruptive footprint on the environment. But it also has sort of a final point on this. I think for us an unexpected side effect in that because we live in the cloud and we don't have to physically put anything into a telco's network or data center. We're able to do the projects that we do with customers entirely remotely, and sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's kind of preferable to be on site. But we launched Nice Mobile, for example, during the end of the COVID time. We met them online. We had all our meetings with them online, and then we went ahead and launched an entire solution with them online, virtually, in 94 days. having never physically met them until about 3 or 4 months after we actually went live. So, all of those benefits accrue from the fact that we're able to do things in this virtualized environment, and the cloud hyperscalers, giving us the capabilities to do that at a very low cost in a very quick way is just another amazing revolution that we're experiencing in telco at the moment.
Great. So that wraps up our session for today. Thank you, Robin, for joining us and for sharing your thoughts and insights on the convergence between telco and tech. For everyone watching, you can drop by Meeting Room LL at DTW23 to meet Robin and the team behind Moflix, or book your slot in advance at www.moflixgroup.com/contact. To learn more about Moflix TelcoTech, visit www.moflixgroup.com. Thank you and see you all again.
Thanks, Ariana. Goodbye, everybody.